Wonderful to see you all here. Today's 10 tips for reducing the impact of imposter syndrome. Most of you I have been here before. Josie, just so you know, and Sohag, you're new to here today. What we do is it's about 15 minutes where we just go through a very quick training, then put you into breakout rooms so you can network and you can talk a little bit about what you're learning. And then I will let you know about my offers that I have, because we've got the Professional Growth Club, we've got the NLP Business Circle, and there's also a 45-minute complimentary strategy session that you can book with me to really discuss how I can help you. You can use that as a coaching session for yourself, but to discuss about how how NLP and coaching can help you. Okay, so if you're not on mute, if you can just put yourself on mute now while I share the screen, that's lovely. It's just so we get a nice clean recording. Okay, so today is reducing the impact of imposter syndrome. Do you struggle to accept you deserve the success you've worked hard for? Think that you just get lucky? Believe that anyone can do what you do? And those of you who are here for the first time, there's no handouts with here, so feel free to take notes and take photographs of the slides if you want. Think that you've only succeeded because people have helped you. Struggle with being a perfectionist. Believe that it's not okay to fail. Play down your achievements. These are some of the things that we're finding lots of people in business talk about. A KPMG study recently finds that 75% of female executives across industries have experienced imposter syndrome in their career. So this is a type of limiting self-belief could be holding you back in business and stopping you celebrating and enjoying the success that you deserve. Now, first of all, we've got to talk about, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about imposter syndrome. But can you go to www.impostersyndrome.com and buy 5 kilos? No. Can you take imposter syndrome and put it in a wheelbarrow and move it around? No. So imposter syndrome isn't a thing. It's a state we create in ourselves based by what we say to ourselves. Now, all behavior comes from a thought. What we're working with, for those of you who are new here, this is all about, it's the NLP, the Business NLP Networking lunch. And this is to introduce you to some of the neuro-linguistic programming techniques, skills and techniques that we use in business. So it's understanding that we now know from neuroscience that all behavior comes from a thought. So if you tell yourself you're an imposter, you're right. If you tell yourself you're rubbish at your job, you're right. If you tell yourself every one of these questions that was just up on the screen there, you're right. And if you're getting yes, yeah, that's what I believe, you're absolutely right. So the good news is it's possible for you to change the way of thinking and start stepping into your well-deserved power. One of the ways to do this is by embracing your authentic self. Now, tomorrow we're putting out on LinkedIn, I've got every 2 weeks, there's a newsletter comes out, and the newsletter is actually on this also. So those of you who are linked to me on LinkedIn, have a look for that. Imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon in which individuals doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent fear of being exposed as frauds, even when they're competent and successful. Embracing your authentic self can help combat imposter syndrome. One of the things we've got to be careful about, some people will actually be diagnosed from a medical professional with imposter syndrome. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the people that are telling themselves constantly, I'm not good enough, I'm an imposter. Because this is coming from your own limiting beliefs. And by changing these limiting beliefs, you can actually change. This is why I put together 10 really, really simple techniques. It's very, very simple tips to deal with this. Being authentic involves embracing your true self, including your strengths and weaknesses. Some of you may know the work of Professor Brené Brown. If you put your hand up, if you know the work of Professor Brené Brown, okay? If not, you can go on to YouTube. It's B-R-E-N-E, Brown. And Professor Brené Brown, what she discovered a few years ago was that being vulnerable was actually a very powerful state for a business professional to be in. So the more vulnerable you are, the more people will actually connect with you. But to be vulnerable, one of the things you've got to be able to do to be vulnerable is to actually say, I don't know. I don't know this. All good leaders are able to say, I don't know. What happens very much, now remember, this is a business event that we're doing here. What happens a lot in managers that have just been promoted? I work a lot with new managers. I work a lot with senior managers. But someone who gets promoted into a management or a senior position, what they start to do is they start to think they have to know everything. They don't. Good leaders know what they don't know. And they know where they can find that. And they're happy to quite comfortably say, I don't know that. I'll find out. Or you go and find out. And come back and let me know. Now, that doesn't mean you're saying, oh, don't know, I don't know, I don't know to absolutely everything you're saying, but just having this vulnerability to be able to say, no, I don't know. And to be able to say as well, I'm not good at that. Anyone who's ever worked with me as an associate, with me working with them as an associate trainer, knows that they never, and here's someone just coming in who knows about this, Danny's just arriving in time. One of the things that they know about me is, do not put me into a training when I've got to have anything to do with facts and figures. I'm dreadful with numbers. Absolutely dreadful. Hello, Danny. You've just come in at the right time. We're talking about having being vulnerable and actually being able to talk about weaknesses, because I've trained with Danny and I have trained together many times in the Middle East. Hi, nice to see you. And I do not do figures. And I'm quite happy to say that. I would just put myself into a completely stressed state to have to train that. So it's being able to say to yourself, okay, I'm not good at that, but that's okay. There's some things you can learn. There's some things that actually it's not really worth learning because it's such a stress to learn it. Also, when you accept yourself for who you are and acknowledge your abilities and limitations, you're less likely to feel like a fraud. This self-acceptance can help you recognize that you belong in your role or position. When we're talking about self-acceptance, this is moving into the role of emotional intelligence, because the 5 competencies of emotional intelligence, the first competency is self-awareness. Now, once you have self-awareness, you either accept yourself as who you are or not. You don't have to like yourself. Self-acceptance very often isn't, oh, I absolutely love it. It can be, no, this is who I am. This is maybe if you're on a development journey, when you're looking to develop your skills, you can be saying to yourself, this is where I'm starting. So being able to feel when you're accepting yourself and feeling genuine about yourself, that helps to counteract any feelings of, do I deserve to be here? Now, I always say to my clients, nobody, and I know it's not nobody, sometimes it happens. I'll put my hand up, sometimes it happens. The majority of people do not get promoted because they've got a nice smile, or they've got nice eyes, or they dress well. No. The majority of people get promoted because they're good at their tasks. But we also have the Peter Principles. Anyone heard about the Peter Principle? Peter Principle is a fabulous principle that came out in the 1970s, a small, tiny book. Everyone gets promoted to their level of incompetence. And you only have to work with C-suite clients to realize that. You're dealing with all these people. How did they get that job? Most of them don't have imposter syndrome, although they're the people that maybe should have a little bit of an imposter syndrome. So it's understanding that sometimes you'll be promoted to a job that's absolutely not suitable for you. But instead of saying, oh, I've got imposter syndrome, it's saying, actually, this is not the job for me. Being comfortable enough to say, this is not the job for me. We see a lot of companies will promote someone who's very good at sales to a sales manager. And then they go from very good at sales to all of a sudden having to manage lots of other people. Their absolute passion may be just dealing with clients. So again, it's what we call imposter syndrome can be a little indication as, do I really deserve this? Am I, being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself, or am I actually in a job that I don't want? I've had it. I've been in jobs before where I've gone, I don't want this. I don't want this responsibility at this point in my life. So it starts with really being accepting of yourself and genuine yourself. Being authentic also requires self-awareness. When you're in tune with your thoughts, feelings, and motivations, you can better understand why you feel like an imposter. Sometimes you've got to ask yourself, am I just in this job for the money? And if the answer is yes, and you hate the job, but you want the money more than you hate the job, get on with it. Or am I in this job just for money? Well, actually, no. Am I satisfied with this job? No. That's an indication to maybe get coached or talk to people or get mentored to see, okay, so where do I go? So imposter syndrome, what we call imposter syndrome, is not always a bad thing. It's an indication to check what's going on in your life. And then this self-awareness can help you challenge and reframe negative self-perception. So if you are feeling an imposter, and we'll give you the tips on that in a moment, you can change what you're saying to yourself. First tip here is stop telling yourself you're an imposter. Number one rule, all behavior comes from a thought. Your thoughts are what you're telling yourself. Your thoughts are your self-talk. Start to listen to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself when just do let's go a quick poll here. Put your hand up if you believe you have imposter syndrome. Okay. Oh, I love it. Some of you are not quite sure. Okay, so where did you get it from? As I mentioned before, did you go to www.impostersyndrome.com and buy 5 kilos? Or maybe you need 10 kilos to really feel bad. So it's understanding this is what you're telling yourself. So what are you telling yourself when you say to yourself, I'm an imposter? Okay, I don't want you to share that, but I just want you to listen to what you're actually telling yourself. Is that true? Or who's told you that? Whose voice is it? Because sometimes we can have other people. I come from Scotland. Scotland's well known for the way they motivate and champion people. Not. In Scotland, what we have in Scotland, who do you think you are? That's the default. It's changing. But the old way in Scotland's, well, who do you think you are? They're successful. They don't like success. Our culture doesn't champion success. This happens a lot in European countries compared to if you go to the States. Everyone's a champion in the States, and it's absolutely, do whatever, but we don't encourage success, especially where I come from. So it's who's been telling you you're an imposter? Or who's been giving you the suggestions you might not be good enough? It might not be you. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be someone that doesn't want you to change. Change how you think about the term imposter syndrome. What if this was a really good term? What if this was a really positive thing to say to yourself? Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. That's great. So how can it be great? Who's got an idea of how that could be great? Just come onto microphone and share anyone who thinks that could be great. How could it mean something good?
It could be good because I will always be driven to do more and be better than I am.
Okay, so it can make you go, okay, I'm feeling a bit of a foster. Yeah, I want to do even better. So it could motivate you, yeah. Okay, thank you, Sophia. What else? It can actually, telling yourself an imposter, it could be a way of just saying, okay, I'm in a situation now that is making me feel like that. That means I'm moving out of my comfort zone. I'm growing. This is just me moving out my comfort zone. This is me just dealing with new things that I haven't dealt with. I'm not an imposter. It's all just new. Okay. So just by reframing the words imposter syndrome. And then you've got stop comparing yourself to others. When you're thinking you're an imposter, who are you comparing yourself to? If you're a new manager, are you comparing yourself to a highly experienced manager? If you're a new coach, are you comparing yourself to someone who's been a coach for years? I know when I do the NLP business practitioner training and business coach training, the number of people who start as students with me, and within the first few days, they're beating themselves up because they're not good enough at NLP. And I'll say, who you compare? They're comparing themselves to me. I've been doing this 30 years. Okay, so it's who are you comparing yourself to? You are your own unique, wonderful individual. Step into your own uniqueness. Step into your way of doing things. And then stop assuming. It's easy to say this, but we've got this wonderful world of social media. Now, the influencers, some of your people who have got millions and millions and millions of followers, they've got film crews following them all around with stylists and makeup artists. Everything that they are showing is all styled. So you can compare, and people are not going to go on to Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and say, my life's crap. Sometimes they do. And you'll find people put a post on and actually become genuine, honest. These posts go viral because someone has broken this mask that everyone's putting. We're all having perfect lives. We're not all having perfect lives. Nobody is having a perfect life. We all make the most of our lives with what we can do. So it's just stop assuming that everyone else is more successful, they find it easier. And where we find this, and I know Annette, Danny, both fellow trainers with me, they will back this up. The number of times you go in and do leadership training and you get a number of leaders in a room and they start opening up and being honest with each other, they all have doubts about what they're doing. And they'll all start opening up with their doubts. There you go, Danny, thank you. They all start to open up with their doubts. They all say, I felt on my own. I didn't, it was crazy. And once they start realizing everyone else is having their doubts, they suddenly, oh, that's okay then. Of course it's okay. It's good to doubt yourself sometimes, but it's not good to keep telling yourself that. And then reframe mistakes and failure. Oh, I made a terrible mistake. Yeah, and did your head fall off? No. Are you still alive? Yes. Now, I'm going to be serious for a minute. Even when a surgeon loses a patient on an operating theatre, that surgeon doesn't go away and goes, that's my life finished. What the medical team do, they do the critical assessment. If a plane crashes, if there's a big incident in an oil rig or something like that, anything where people lose their lives, there's always a report and they go in and they break it all down to make sure it doesn't happen again. So just making a small mistake, so what? We all make mistakes. All mistakes can be sorted. So rather than saying, oh, that's terrible, and then beating yourself up about it, actually reframe that and say, okay, that didn't work. I made a mistake there. What can I learn from that? How can I make sure I don't do that again? Or what can I learn from that? And it's letting people understand it's natural. Actually, think about a child. Every one of you was a baby at one point. Am I correct? What would have happened if you gave up first time? You tried to walk and then you fell back in your backside again? And went, I can't do this, it's too hard, I keep making mistakes. Babies don't do that. So guess what? You've got that inner resilience there. It's built into you to keep going and overcome challenges, overcome mistakes. And just tell yourself, and even from a customer service point of view, there's an incredible, I was in sales for 25 years. There's an incredible statistic that shows that if a customer has a bad scenario from a company, a company really messes up, really makes a mistake, and someone takes responsibility for that and sorts that out, that customer is more likely to remain much more loyal to that company than someone who's never had to deal with mistakes, who's always had correct service. So as human beings, we're actually hardwired. If someone does make a mistake and then takes responsibilities to sort that, we actually connect more with them. It's a stronger connection we have with them. So making mistakes and owning your mistakes is okay. And then value your own time and understand boundaries. Again, I work with exhausted new managers because they're trying to solve everyone else's problems. They're letting people interrupt them all the time. They're letting people come in and, can you help me with this? Can you help? Oh, yeah, because they think they've got to be helping everyone instead of going, I'm busy. So one of the ways to overcome this is learn to say no. But learn to say no, and I mentioned this, I think, in last week's, learn to say no as a yes. I'd love to be able to help you, but I'm right in the middle of something just now. I'll be finished in 2 hours. Having boundaries and even turning around, I was actually working with a client today with this, and, you know, even an interview situation, going in and finding about, if you're going in for an interview, find out about the job that you're being interviewed for. Find out what the boundaries are. If it's taking you where you don't really want to go, say so. You can interview, you know, the interviewer. You can find out about the company. So you're not stepping in. A lot of people step into jobs without really finding out what the job is, and then they're totally out their depth. But it's not, they're not being an imposter. They've just not got enough information. Some people can learn, they can use that to really learn to do the job, or other people can turn around and say, actually, it's not for me. But maybe at the interview stage, look and ask yourself, is this for me or not? Is this really what I want to be doing? All of these things are keeping you, can you see they're all coming into your genuine, authentic self. Learn to say no, which I mentioned before. Think of the people that say no to you. Especially the people you work with, especially your, you know, people who are maybe higher up in an organization, or it could be clients that you're working with. They say no. You could be going to a company, you could be, if you're a trainer, you're talking about delivering training programs, and the client says, no, I'd love to, no, but not just now. It doesn't make you personally, you don't collapse because someone has said no. You know where the boundaries are with that person. Okay, that's fine. That's as far as we can go. So boundaries and saying no all help in just reducing the impact. What people think of you really doesn't matter. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to do this. I want you to point yourself and say, I am the center of my own world. I am the center of my own world. We're all the center of our own world. Okay? Everything, we have to be the center of our own world to make sense of the world around us. So because most people are in their own world, they don't see you. They don't even take you into consideration. People get so hung, oh, what have they seen me doing this? Or what they, and then when you ask other people, they haven't even noticed, because most people are so they're caught up in their own stuff, they don't notice other people. So it's just understanding that really, what other people, does it matter? And then the people I've had who get really beaten up because someone has criticized them, and I've said, do you respect that person? They go, no. Okay, so you're allowing someone you don't respect to get into your head and beat you up, and you don't even respect that person. So it's really understanding that being yourself, being honest, being open, being willing to learn, being resourceful, that's what really connects with people, because the so-called, what we call imposter syndrome, just takes up so much energy. Share your feelings. That's what I was talking about earlier. When you get leaders together, I mean, if you're working with professionals like Danny and Annette and myself, we can hold space. We know how to do this. We can hold space for real honesty in senior management roles, you know, because the higher up people go in organizations, the less likely they want to talk about how they feel when they're struggling with something. But when you get people actually opening up and talking to each other, it becomes incredible how they all pull themselves together. So it's that, you know, share your feelings. And sorry, just to get back on that for a moment, I'll just go back to the pandemic for this, because we were working with a lot of companies online, and the managers who were able to turn around to their teams and say to their teams, I don't know how we're going to get through this. I know we'll find a way, but at this point of time, I haven't a clue. We were all saying that to each other. How are we going to keep doing this? But we all found a way to do it. But it was the people who were able to share I don't know, but we'll find something. There's something happens with the brain when someone does that causes a neural connection with other people. And that's how you really build strength as a leader. And then celebrate your success. Be proud of your achievements. Now, I recommend this mainly to women in business. There's not too many gender differences, but I still recommend it to guys as well. But there's a thing that's been recognized in business that when you ask a woman if she can do something, maybe you put a project in front of her, she will tend to think about what she can't do and verbalizes it. When you tend to ask a male leader to do something, they don't verbalize it. That's the only difference. They'll still have their doubts, but women tend to talk more about what they can't do, which doesn't do them any good, doesn't do them any service. I recommend to all my clients, keep an absolute record of your achievements, the facts and figures, the percentages, everything. And talk about them. And now I'm not talking about walking about, well, fantastic, I'm wonderful, I'm great. We're not talking about that. The project I was asked to deliver last year has resulted in a 25% improvement in customer service. There's the evidence. I did. There's the evidence. There's the evidence. Now, you can use that for future career moves, because that's what people are wanting to see in CVs. They're wanting to see facts and figures. But more importantly, you can use it for a reference for yourself when you're struggling to go back and say, look what I did. I did that. Because when you're struggling, your prefrontal cortex closes down and you stop being rational. Okay? So what we're going to do is put you into breakout rooms. Just go in for 7 minutes. We're going to go in for 7 minutes. We always like to just do the 7 minutes. And then have a wee chat about imposter syndrome, maybe how you work with it, what you've actually experienced. We'll come back, we'll get some feedback. And then what we'll do after that is I'll just tell you a little bit about my offers I've got. But off you go and talk to each other. Go and share a little bit about imposter syndrome and use this to network. And remember, connect with everyone on these lunches. Welcome back. That's recording back on again. Some great discussions going on in all the rooms there. That was lovely to hear. And one of the things that came up in a couple of the rooms was culture. But in a cultural situation, what can happen is maybe you're brought up to be a high performer. You're brought up not to say no. You're brought up to know your place, that it's not you that has, it's not for you to get this. One of the things you can ask yourself is, because cultures are always changing. We do a lot of work now in the UK with second, third, fourth generation people that maybe their grandparents came to the UK. They've been brought up here. And their culture here is so different from maybe their grandparents' culture, but gradually it has moved over the years. I worked out in the Middle East for years, and you're working in a total multicultural society. So you get to see the influence of all the different cultures on people's definition of what success is in business. So sometimes you've got to ask yourself, if you're beating yourself up about that, is what I'm saying serving me at this point of time? That's the way. So it's what I'm telling myself serving me for my job or my company or whatever I'm running at this point in time. That doesn't mean that the way you are in business, you suddenly become the same way to maybe family members who don't really understand where you are in your career. So it's understanding that there isn't such. Imposter syndrome itself is just making yourself feel really insecure and bad through what you're telling yourself. And there can be lots of reasons for that. Some of them can be self-talk, or Danny, you were mentioning there about when you don't, I just got into the end of that. You were talking about when you're doing something that's new. You mentioned something about that? Is that correct?
Yes. It's just that I didn't know if it's imposter syndrome or just being realistic about what I'm capable. I know I'm capable of doing, but because I haven't practiced it. So I'm not sure whether I really know how or not.
Yeah. So, and again, if you've been asked to do something, I'll never be able to, and then you can find step by step you do learn. Or if it's anything like me trying to deliver anything to do with finance training, I can't do it. But I could do it, but my goodness, it puts me under so much stress. I choose not to do it. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm just going to let you know a little bit about what we've got. Before we go any further, this is every Wednesday, but for the next 2 Wednesdays, I'm actually traveling next Wednesday, and then I'm training the following Wednesday. So we'll start in, what's 3 Wednesdays from now, Annette? Do you have the date?
It's the 4th.
The 4th. So we'll be back
October.
again the 4th, and we're going to run this right through to Christmas. We're going to keep going right through, because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it after the summer or not. But yes. So for those of you who would like to get access to a lot of my corporate trainings as a self-learning course, I've got the Professional Growth Club. And this is an online self-learning membership club. And you get access to my leader system, which is emotional intelligence, overcoming imposter syndrome, setting goals. There's 6 courses on the leader system. When you go through these systems, I've got videos, I've got audios and workbooks for each one. And when you complete everything, you get a certificate issued to you automatically, certificate completion. We also put, every month as a new course goes up, and now we're going to be keeping them on for 2 months. So the 2 bonus courses are there, is the Art of Managing Your Time Effectively. And that's the Art of Managing Your Time Effectively, and the VAK communication system. So that's $9 a month. If you're NLP trained and you would like to join our community of NLP professionals who focus on NLP for business, we've got the NLP Business Circle Club. And that's the NLP Business Circle Club there. $45 a month instead of $90 a month. We have 2 live workshops every single month for 2 hours. They're recorded, and members get access to all the recordings since December 2020. So I think we're up to 70 recordings now with that. And if you would like to have a one-to-one complimentary 45-minute strategy session with me to talk about your business, I'm happy to work on anything you want to work with in that 45 minutes. You can email me at fiona@theprofessionalgrowthcompany.com. And tomorrow we start the business practitioner, and the beginning of October, we start the NLP business coach. So if you're NLP business trained, if you've done NLP practitioner or NLP business practitioner, let me know and I can send you details of the NLP business coach training. But thank you very much. This has been incredible. It's just lovely to see everyone. And what I love about this is the way, I know it's only 7 minutes, but I like to call this a little bit of speed networking. People go in, they connect with each other. We're seeing more and more people coming on regularly now, and it's lovely to see you. So we'll see you in 3 weeks' time, and give yourself a big round of applause. That's it. We're at the right time, and we'll see you soon. Okay, take care. I'll stay here for about 10-15 minutes if anyone would like to have a chat. Okay, so we'll put the recording off, but thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.